Welcome to our viewers worldwide. I'm Carl Azuz for CNN 10. We are your objective explanation of world events, and we're grateful to have you beginning a new week with us. First story takes us to the Korean Peninsula, where there's a lot of talk taking place about a second summit between the leaders of North Korea and the U.S. The first one, which happened last summer in Singapore, was historic because it was the first time that sitting leaders from both of these countries met face to face. And it was considered a foreign policy success for U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. They signed a declaration that said the U.S. would work toward normalizing relations with North Korea and that North Korea would work toward giving up its nuclear weapons. But critics say concrete steps toward a peace treaty haven't been taken. A big hang-up is that North Korea wants security guarantees from the U.S. before it starts giving up its nukes. And the U.S. wants North Korea to give up its nukes before relations are normalized. But they're not the only two countries that factor into all this. The U.S. fought alongside South Korea in the Korean War in the early 1950s. The two democratic nations have historically been close allies. North Korea's only close ally is China, and the leaders of those two communist countries held a surprise meeting last week. So as American and North Korean officials reportedly plan a second summit between their leaders, a lot of questions are being raised about the influence of South Korea and China on that meeting.
Following a secretive trip to China on his armored train, Kim Jong-un, the once shunned dictator, has emerged tonight with two key world leaders and power brokers by his side as he angles for a second summit with President Trump. One of those brokers, South Korean President Moon Jae-in, says he's expecting to hear news soon of a second summit, hinting it could be imminent. Analysts say just about every side in this process needs a win right now. South Korea's Moon Jae-in tonight is seen as hell-bent, almost desperate, to push a peace deal between Trump and Kim. Moon's suffering politically at home, sees a denuclearization deal as key to his political survival, and is seen as making moves that might go against the interests of the United States, which he partially depends on for his country's security.
Moon at this particular time is trying to mediate between the two sides, but he's mostly adopting Kim Jong-un's negotiating position, which is the United States should give sanctions relief on a partial basis. And so it seems that Moon is pretty much working with Kim Jong-un against the United States.
The other power broker in Kim's corner, his fellow strongman, Chinese President Xi Jinping, who Kim traveled some 800 miles by rail to meet.
It's really about reminding the White House that China is central to this discussion, and nothing's going to happen here that doesn't include the Chinese.
Kim was in China this week at the very same time that top American trade negotiators were also there, trying to work their way out of a trade war with China. Experts say that was no coincidence, that Xi is now holding his influence with North Korea over President Trump.
What is the danger to the United States of Xi Jinping being so powerful right now with North Korea and the U.S.?
I think the risk for the U.S. in China's leverage in this process right now is that if we don't start making some progress in the North Korea-U.S. bilateral channel, this gives Kim Jong-un a lot of leverage to be able to say, I have the Chinese backing me, you need to make more concessions to me on armistice and on peace treaty and so on before I'm willing to start declaring what I have in terms of nuclear capability.
10-second trivia. What do the names Whirlpool, Black Eye, and Sombrero all have in common? Are they all appliance brands, names of galaxies, special ops forces, or oceanic reefs? These are all the names of galaxies, massive concentrations of stars. Of course, the one we live in is the Milky Way, which would have made that question too easy. And scientists say they've detected some sort of signal from outside it. Fast radio bursts that repeat. Radio bursts, which are signals that only last for a millisecond or so, aren't that rare in space. But researchers say that last summer, a Canadian radio telescope recorded a burst 6 times from the same location, and that is said to be unusual. This is only the second time that this type of signal has been found to repeat. So what is it? No one knows. Some people think they could be a form of communication from extraterrestrial life trying to contact us. But scientists say that's probably not it. The bursts could come from neutron stars or a black hole. What they're hoping is to record more of them so they can be studied and used to explain their origin. Low Earth orbit is probably a lot closer than wherever those radio bursts came from. And there's a long wait for companies that want to put their small satellites into low Earth orbit. There's a new process that could speed that up by launching the satellites from the sky itself. But that could come at a price of almost 10 times the cost of launching a satellite from Earth.
It's better than launching off the top of Mount Everest.
Virgin Orbit CEO Dan Hart is talking about launching a rocket off a Boeing 747. It's one of the ways the company is looking to differentiate itself from competitors, who all launch from the ground, in the red-hot small satellite launch market.
What kind of performance advantage are we talking about?
We get somewhere between 10 and 20% improvement by flying on the aircraft, and it also allows us to get above the thick air that you have at sea level. Because we get a performance advantage, we can make the rocket a little bit smaller, make the engines a little bit smaller, and less expensive.
The advantages don't stop there. Virgin Orbit says theoretically its system can take off from most commercial airports. The company's 747 Cosmic Girl serves as a flying launch pad for their 70-foot-long Launcher One rocket. At 35,000 feet, the two-stage rocket is released from under the wings and ignites, deploying customers' lightweight satellites. The company says each launch will cost customers $10 to $15 million, and Virgin is aiming to be operational by early 2019, having just completed its first test flight. Orbit already has contracts with NASA and the Department of Defense.
Most people don't realize it. The satellites are supporting us every day. So a lot of our customers are commercial enterprises who are setting up new applications for communication, for tracking ships, for mobile communication.
Why did you want to get into the small sat space?
It's very expensive today to put satellites into space, and you have to wait for sometimes 6 months, a year, before you get a slot on a big rocket to get them up there. So we thought that if we could take it up to 35,000 feet, drop the rocket, and then fire it off into space, we would have a lot of advantages over any competitors.
Kelly Latimer pilots Virgin Orbit's 747 Cosmic Girl, a retrofitted Virgin passenger airplane.
This does not look like a typical 747. Why is it completely stripped inside?
Part of that was just to get rid of the extra weight. The total weight we took out is about 50,000 pounds, and the weight of the rocket is going to be about 58,000 pounds. So it kind of lets us put a rocket on without really eating the weight increase.
Latimer performed the first captive carry flight of its Launcher One rocket, but says she's really excited for the company's next major milestone, its first orbital flight.
I look forward to the day where it's the actual rocket, it's got the fuel on board, and we're going to just go up there, drop it, and see it, go off in front of us.
While Virgin Orbit inches closer to that milestone, competitor Rocket Lab recently launched 6 small satellites into low Earth orbit. Rocket Lab says it hopes to complete 16 launches next year, a number Virgin Orbit would like to top.
We expect to be launching 20, 30, maybe more times a year. I could easily see us doing missions much further than low Earth orbit, going to GEO, going to lunar, going to Mars.
The demand, I think, for small satellites around the Earth is enormous. There's about 4 billion people are not connected. They all want to be connected.
A boy from California accidentally left his stuffed animals at a hotel in Hawaii, and that's when their vacation turned awesome. The teddy bear and stuffed seal got to chillax by the pool. Yeah, I said chillax, 2009. Sunbathing, a spa treatment, a personal tour by the staff, all part of it. And it was that same staff who, after finding the lost toys, took them on this photo shoot, packed them up, and sent them home safe and sound to their owner. So how was their vacation? Plush. How'd it make them feel? Soft. How were they after the 5-star cuisine? Stuffed. And they can't build a bear the weight until they get back to where they'd be. I'm Carl Azuz, and that's CNN 10.